Hi, Dr. Erickson again. I want to give you another clinical pearl as it relates to handling peripheral neuropathies. This is another thing that I look for that's absolutely crucial in your management and your help, any help that you want to get from a peripheral neuropathy type of problem. There's two things that your nerves actually use for fuel. And it's very important to understand what these two are because it's the only two things that they use. And peripheral neuropathy is a nerve problem. Those two things are sugar and oxygen. Now we get our sugar from blood sugar. This comes from the foods that we eat. Now how do we find out what our blood sugar is? Well, we do a lab work. We run through a complete metabolic profile, find out what our fasting blood glucose is. Now some of you may say, you know, Doc, I've already had my testing done, everything falls within the normal ranges, etc., etc. I get that. Now, that comes to the second part of this testing issue, is that you need to order appropriate tests, but the second part of that is you need to be able to evaluate them from a functional model. And what I mean by that is your lab ranges typically are going to be very broad. And that means is that they will allow you to have, you'll fall within a very broad range, and they'll still consider you to be normal. For example, lab ranges could range for blood sugar anywhere from 65 up to 110. Now, if you know anything about diabetes and blood sugar, if you're getting down around the 65, 67, 68 level, that blood sugar is actually too low. However, oftentimes you'll be considered within the normal range because that's what's accepted at the labs. I use a much tighter range of evaluation for blood sugar, and the range that I use is called functional ranges, so it's much tighter, it's narrower. So instead of the 65 to 110, the ranges that I use are actually range from 85 to 99. What does that mean? That means if you come in with a blood sugar of 78, you may be told that you're normal. However, when I look at it and evaluate your situation, you're hypoglycemic. You've got too little blood sugar. You are not in the optimum range. So the danger of this is that every single cell in your body needs sugar to function appropriately, and your nerves even more so. So if your nerves are not getting adequate amounts of nourishment and fuel, they will begin to get sick, weaken, and die. And this is exactly what happens with diabetes. And this is why peripheral neuropathy oftentimes piggybacks on a diabetic situation. Because the body's not able to get the sugar into the cell, because that's the hormone insulin's job, is to facilitate getting the blood sugar into the cells. And so if insulin is now not able to do its job for whatever reason, the cells can't get the fuel that they need, which means the nerves can't get the fuel that they need, which means they begin to get sick and they die. And typically what dies off first are those that are the furthest away from the core of the body. So that tends to be the hands and the feet. And that's where you'll develop those symptoms. So essential and crucial, you have to have good blood sugar. You have to have the right tests run. You have to have them evaluated properly. It's not just simply falling within those big ranges. We want optimum ranges. If you've been diabetic, if you are diabetic, if you don't know if you're diabetic, and you have blood sugar issues, it is absolutely crucial for you to manage those to the best of your ability if you ever want to have hopes of improving or slowing down and halting a peripheral neuropathy problem. Now in my office, we can evaluate you and we can actually make recommendations, whether they're botanical recommendations, dietary or lifestyle changes, to actually help fix that problem and support it appropriately. But you need to give me a call. Give me a call if you want our help. There's certainly some things we can do. However, as far as peripheral neuropathy goes, this is one piece of the puzzle you need to have nailed down cold. Otherwise, any other of your efforts at losing or fixing that peripheral neuropathy problem are not going to work. Blood sugar is just too critical to be ignored, and it needs to be optimum. So thank you for listening today. We'll come back at another one. We'll come back with another clinical pearl for you at another time.